Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this hour. You know, there are a lot of issues that are going on, and we're hearing stories from many different fronts, all of which are designed to demonize and demagogue certain small groups of individuals. And for those of you who aren't aware of the risk that this poses in society and to our republic specifically, I would encourage you to look back on history and understand how propaganda and the demonizing of individual groups or segments or ethnic groups, there's a million different ways that you can couch it. But the danger that poses to a structured government. Recently, the FBI and the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Department of Justice have been out pushing these programs on police teaching tactics for handling sovereign citizens. And they recently came out with an article in the LA Times about how there are somewhere between 100 and 300,000 domestic terrorists involved in the sovereign movement. First of all, that's a broad brush. Second of all, 100 to 300,000 is an even broader count. I mean, if I came to your home and I said, I'm going to put in a new kitchen for you, but it's going to cost you somewhere between $10,000 and $30,000, you would ask me to leave, because I would have zero credibility. In this article, they pick out 2 or 3 incidents where individuals who call themselves sovereigns have gotten into conflicts and gunfights with police. But we're talking about such a small minority of the overall population. I mean, it's a point followed by an untold number of zeros. But you see, it's all about perception. It's all about the marketing. They spend half the article talking about 1 or 2 incidents where individuals have acted in a violent fashion. However, they neglect to mention that the vast majority of the individuals who believe in the sovereignty movement are not violent at all. Their primary source of information on this issue is the Southern Poverty Law Center. Now, you know, the Southern Poverty Law Center, in terms of an educational organization, is, well, I would couch them in a characterized manner that would put them on a par with Hitler teaching the Palestinians about the lawlessness of Jews. I mean, it's a predefined outcome. The Southern Poverty Law Center has zero credibility. They demonize and characterize literally thousands and thousands of people and groups as violent extremists, right-wing extremists. And you keep hearing this talk over and over and over and over again. The Southern Poverty Law Center is the new Goebbels Ministry of Propaganda for the DOJ in this administration. I mean, they're a dangerous organization in the sense that what they are doing is pointing the finger at literally tens of thousands of Americans who are guilty of nothing other than simply asking our government to follow the Constitution upon which it's based. The feds are identifying over 300,000 Americans as sovereigns. Up on our Facebook page, I posted an article by a group called the Activist Post, which was a very, very well-written discussion on this issue. What you have to realize, however, is that they're now classifying people who file and argue against foreclosure as paper terrorists, which opens the entire brand to literally tens of millions of Americans. You're now a paper terrorist if you attempt to fight back against corporate tyranny, foreclosure, credit card companies who charge you exorbitant and outrageous sums, corporations that have injured you personally or professionally. Who knew that fighting foreclosure was a form of terrorism? Now, in fairness, they're referencing these people who refuse to pay taxes and some people who are squatters in foreclosed homes and file these phony deed claims and things like that. But that's not terrorism, is it? I mean, using the court system for what it's intended for is hardly terrorism. And I take umbrage at a group like the Southern Poverty Law Center who wants to classify an entire segment of the United States population as dangerous, using key and code words like terrorism, extremism, right wing. The simple truth is that this is a center-right nation. We don't believe generally in the concepts and the precepts of socialism. We believe that free markets and limited government are what made this nation great. We know that. We don't even think it. We know it. And yet, all of these groups do everything in their power to tear down the reputation and the name, the credibility of our framers and our founders. They do everything in their power and write disingenuous and misleading PolitiFact and Sensatia-fact-based articles designed to elicit an emotional response from you that will not give you the opportunity to truly understand what is happening in our nation. And what is happening in our nation is quite dire. We are looking at a nation that is slipping into totalitarianism. Whatever ism you want to put on the end of that, whatever name you want to give that, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that we're now under surveillance in every aspect of our lives. Our government is basically rescinding the rights that were granted to us by God and nature and in our Constitution enshrined. And yet, most Americans are asleep at the switch. America, I'm not sure what you're waiting for, but all that you have and all that you have known is about to slip through your hands like grains of sand. We'll be back in just a moment.
The next big thing from Samsung is coming soon to U.S. Cellular. Meet the all-new Samsung Galaxy S4, the phone that gets to know you. Scroll through a page without ever touching the screen. Turn your phone into a TV remote control. Take photos you'll never believe came from a smartphone. Visit uscellular.com to find out how you can get the all-new Samsung Galaxy S4 from the provider that puts people first. US Cellular. Hello better. See uscellular.com for details.
America's Voice Now, delivering truth over mainstream propaganda every single day. Hi, my name is Michael Evans, and I'm your host, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., and Saturday morning from 6 to 9 a.m. Join me daily for important guests and my unique slant on hot topics in the news. Visit americasvoicenow.org for even more news, articles, and commentary, and watch our show streaming live to your PC. Share your morning with me. Get educated, informed, motivated, and activated. America's Voice Now, right here on 107.1.
If you understand the incrementalism that's being perpetrated upon you to make you numb to what's happening, all you need to do is listen to MSNBC host Melissa Harris hyphenated Perry. You know, she just posted a video in which she basically comes out and says, your kids don't belong to you. They belong to the collective. They belong to the community. They belong to us. Us? Really now? You know, our children are the future and the hope of every generation. It's not limited just to ours. It's all generations. And yet, we have organizations out there who are doing their darndest to attempt to indoctrinate our children and twist the realities of things so that we are basically falling as a nation, slowly but surely, in a gradual decline. Generation after generation is fed misinformation, disinformation, ideology, and they do it through children. Why do you think that one of the basic 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto is for government-run education? Because they can't get old hammers like you and me to change our minds. They want young and fertile minds where they can plant seeds and bring them to maturity. They want malleable children whose minds are corruptible, not because there's something wrong with them, but because we learn what we live. And we live what we learn. The simple truth is this: if you have an opportunity to get a group of children, and you don't have to be a child psychology expert to understand this. This is why Common Core is wending and working its way through our school systems. This is why I read you last week a question that was in a textbook that asks, what are the major advantages of socialism? A, it is more efficient than capitalism. Not true. B, more people share in the benefits of society. Sorry, wrong answer. C, it results in low production costs. Not true. It results in a shell game of the true cost of production. And D, it is free from economic instability. It is absolutely not. In fact, it's only free from economic instability until other people's money runs out. However, there is no E, none of the above. All it does say is please select the best answer from the choices. The simple truth is this. If you can take children and you can mold their minds, you can make them believe anything. Proof in point? Look at the Hitler Youth. Look at Soviet Russia. Look at China. You don't have to look far to find a totalitarian scheme that starts and works its way to power through children. The idea of utilizing children as your strongest army is not new. This is an age-old truism. If you want to corrupt a nation, begin with its children. And what we see today is no different from that. They're a little bit more subtle, perhaps. But go and read some of the historical statements of those who were in the Hitler Youth. I challenge you to go out there and find some information and read it. Read what these people say. First and foremost, they were lured in with the idea that we're going to give you sports equipment. And we're going to give you an opportunity to exercise. Their parents were never told that the curriculum included things like, your parents are old-fashioned and don't know the truth. Trust us and not them. This isn't new information, people. This is age-old mind control, starting at an early age, and perpetrated by people like MSNBC's Melissa Harris Perry. By the way, anyone who insists on hyphenating their last name, that tells you a lot about that person. Her statement that all your kids belong to us, I mean, that's stunning. It's so stunning, I want you to actually hear it for yourself.
We have never invested as much in public education as we should have because we've always had kind of a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments. Idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities.
Kids belong to whole communities? Only when you have a collectivist mentality do children belong to the whole community. First, let's characterize that in the spirit in which it's intended. What you don't realize and what you haven't read between the lines, unless you were listening carefully and thoughtfully, was that by classifying that kids belong to anything, she's indicating to you that they are really slaves to be used for our bidding. Children don't belong to anything. They are independent, living, breathing beings. They have been given the individual rights and liberties that you have by God and by nature. Those were enumerated in the Constitution of the United States of America and repeated in numerous writings by our founders and framers. Melissa Perry would like you to believe that those children belong to the community, which on its face you know, in a skim listening, you might say, well, that's true. I mean, this is the old adage of it takes a village to raise a child, blah, 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 blah. Well, let me tell you what Harris Perry, what her real truth is. Her real truth in this entire statement is that your children belong to society. And that should tell you everything that you need to know about where Melissa Harris Perry stands. What she's saying is, this is a society in which we own you and your children. The term ownership, belonging to, is defined as a possession. I thought we gave up the idea of the possession of human beings back in 1850s. I mean, we fought a war in part over that, didn't we? The idea of slavery has been given up by the entire planet. I mean, other than crime syndicates and some small tin pot dictatorships, the simple truth is we don't believe in slavery as a species. And yet Melissa Harris Perry would have you believe that it's okay for you to think that your children were born into slavery. I consider Melissa Harris Perry's statement to be a terroristic threat. How do you like that? I think what she's saying is that we should be aware of exactly the threat that poses to us as a nation. She goes on in her thing to say, in her article, to say that she considers the unborn child to be a thing, which takes a lot of money to turn into a human. I mean, that's frightening. Go ahead, sir, or caller.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
I just wanted to point out to you that the word certificate itself is the document declaring ownership. So when we're born,
a birth certificate.
It's implying that we are owned by someone or something.
Well, that implication is reinforced by Melissa Harris Perry is not treasonous in a governmental sense of the word. She's treasonous against humanity. This is a crime against humanity.
Absolutely correct on that.
She is guilty of a crime against humanity by suggesting. And by the way, thank you for we're going to have to take a break. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
No problem.
She believes that she has the right to determine who falls in what category. Now, it's interesting. There's 143 thumbs up in her YouTube, thing here, and 1,530 thumbs down. Go ahead, caller.
Hello, Mike. This is Rich from Branson.
Hi, Rich.
Hey, I do some research. I do some paralegal work, and I got a paralegal book here, Paralegal Practice and Procedure, which I ordered through the mail one time while I was taking a course. And they got a Chapter 18 in here. It's called How to Handle Family Law File. And then they have a paragraph down here that states, what is the state called marriage? Marriage is a civil contract, the parties to which are 1, a man, 2, a woman.
Quickly now, you got 10 seconds left. We're going to get cut off by a commercial.
Okay, and 3, a state. So what you got is a 3-party contract where the state is the principal to the contract, and that's why they're claiming ownership of all the produce of that marriage.
I got you. Thank you.
Bye.
Folks, this is the kind of thing that changes entire societies. We'll be back in just a minute.
Fox News Radio, I'm Salchi Ingrasso. Tributes are pouring in for Margaret Thatcher, Great Britain's only woman prime minister.
87-year-old Margaret Thatcher passing away overnight, suffering yet another stroke, and that is what ended her long and illustrious life. She had a series of minor strokes over the past several years. For a long time, she's been out of the public spotlight.
Fox's Greg Palcott. Queen Elizabeth expressed sadness over Thatcher's death. Recovered the bodies of 2 children who were trapped while playing near Charlotte, North Carolina.
Crews had been searching all evening into this morning after the kids were trapped 20 feet under new home construction by a wall of dirt. They'd been playing in a hole.
Rescue efforts were launched quickly.
Officials had arrived on the scene minutes after one of the children's fathers called 911, but couldn't get to them for hours.
Fox Radio's Courtney Keeley. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Get a hold of Brian down at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance. You can call him at 870-492-4030, or you can find him on the web at ozarkmtnselfreliance.com. Located a half-mile east of Walmart and Route 62 in Mountain Home. My friends over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery at 255-2253, number 2 Evans Arcade off the square in West Plains. Best damn bakery in 100 miles. You can reach Mary at 255-2253. My friend Bill Stone over at Stone Construction at 293-0116. Whether remodeling or doing new or custom construction or light commercial, Bill's the guy for you. 293-0116. West Plains Pawn and Gun, located on Route 160, just about a mile east of Walmart on the right-hand side. westplainspawn.com. You can also reach them by a telephone at 417-256-3000. Friends over at the battery station at 303 Washington Avenue, right off the square in West Plains. You can find them on the web at batterystation.com, and you can call them at 417-257-7799. Also, don't forget to stop by Pizza Hut for an outstanding lunch special between 11 and 2. Salad and pasta all together. You can also visit them on Tuesday evenings for family night. Kids eat free under 12. And Jason over at Wits End Classic Barbershop, the sponsor of our telephone line. Make sure that you see Wits End Classic Barbershop for your next shave and a haircut. Outstanding, fine young man and a great patriot as well. He's on the square in West Plains.
The further we reach out, the closer we all become. Hey, it's Nate Cooper here with the Ozark's Best News Talk 107.1 The Point. I invite you to join us Sunday mornings. The program is a combination of local and national known speakers. So I encourage you to do 2 things. Listen in on Sunday mornings from 8 until noon and find out how you can become a sponsor of one of the programs. Just call our offices at 255-0427. Beyond the Point, Sundays on the Ozark's Best News Talk 107.1.
Weather sponsorships are now available on News Talk 107.1 The Point. Get more information. Email info@diamondmediaradio.com for complete details.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, mostly cloudy skies, mostly cloudy with straight thunderstorm through the day, the high 72. Mostly cloudy tonight and tomorrow, low tonight 58, high tomorrow 76. For tomorrow night and Wednesday, variably cloudy, showers and thunderstorms likely. Severe weather is a possibility, the high 68 for Wednesday. I'm meteorologist Jim Rinaldi. For more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
Out of 365 days a year, we celebrate holidays, anniversaries, and other important days. But there is one day you look forward to, your birthday. I wish you a happy birthday. Ryan's Steakhouse of West Plains is proud to bring you the Birthday Club weekday mornings with Cooper & Company. Our daily winner receives 1 buffet and a drink to Ryan's. Just call your birthdays in weekday mornings with Cooper & Company at 255-0427. Brought to you by Ryan's and the Ozark's Best News Talk.
And happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha-cha.
There's a couple of quick announcements we want to make in reference to some upcoming issues. One, I was asked to report to you that the Saturday, April 13th breakfast at the American Legion 384 in Willow Springs. That's by the pool. If you can make that, by all means do. Sean Rhodes on Friday, the 12th of April, will be holding a town hall meeting on Friday, April 12th at noon at the West Plains Civic Center. If you can attend that and have your input heard by the representative to the Missouri State House, that's an advantage. Voice of the Ozarks. I'm sorry, I apologize. The Monday evening Common Sense PRC meeting, 6 p.m. at Spring Dipper in Mammoth Springs, excuse me. Doug Enyart, the Constitution Party candidate, will be speaking at that event, and if there's any way for you to attend that, you should. The Willow Springs Arts Council is announcing an exhibit of photographs of Ozark stone buildings, and that exhibit begins April 19th with a reception from 3 to 6. It will run through Saturday, May 4th at the Ferguson Building in Willow Springs. Also, the Willow Springs Arts Council is sponsoring a concert by the Southern Ozarks Community Orchestra. And if you folks haven't heard this, you really need to. It is an outstanding organization, and they do some really outstanding orchestral and chamber music. That is going to be held on Sunday, April 28th at 3 p.m. at the Historic Star Theater in Willow Springs. I don't know if I love classical and I love orchestral music, and if there's any way that you can attend that, I promise you that you will walk away with a good feeling in the base of your heart from that. It is just, if there's one thing that cannot be divided by politics and by religion and ideology and all the other issues, it is music. Good morning, Mike.
Morning, Mike.
I asked Mike to give us an update on where we are on Wake Up Wednesday. For those of you who participated in that and diligently made your phone calls, I want you guys to hear the results of what happened on Wake Up Wednesday. And the reason I want you to hear it is because I want you to know and have faith in the fact that contacting your representatives does matter. Mike, go ahead.
Well, Wake Up Wednesday was a success, but we need to keep the pressure up. It's not over yet. Ryan Hart, the chief of staff for Jason Smith, called, I believe it was Friday. They have changed the wording of the bill in the Senate to remove the most egregious section of what we're calling the Missouri-Monsanto Protection Act, taking out the modern technology phrase that was the most harmful phrase. They added some alternative wording that we had submitted, some I'd written, some Doreen Hannes had written. It has made it a better bill and not as harmful as it was. And on Saturday, at the Voice of the Ozarks meeting, about a dozen folks from our group were there, and from the Common Sense PRC. Bob Parker was there also. I had a chance to visit directly with Jason Smith and with Representatives Robert Ross, Steve Cookson, and Jeff Pogue, and Senator Doug Leibla, and had added to their alternative wording one more line that would make it a very good bill if passed, that said that the state would not restrict direct commerce between farmers and consumers.
There you go.
Okay. We have total, complete buy-in on this from the representatives mentioned, Cookson, Pogue, and Ross, and Senator Leibla. Senators Cookson and Pogue said the more liberty, the better. They would be for it.
Those are representatives. And for the record, folks, if the Senate bill language is different than the House bill language, after the Senate votes on it and approves that language, it goes back to the House for the House to re-vote on the new language.
Mm-hmm. And Jason Smith had said that in theory he would be okay with this new language.
Okay.
Now, in theory,
yeah,
what does that mean?
Well, when I hear the word theory, I get nervous because, theory is what's got Melissa Harris Perry saying that all of our children belong to the collective.
When I heard that, it reminded me of Star Trek and the Borg.
I know.
Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated.
You will be assimilated.
Yes.
Resistance is futile.
The Missouri-Monsanto Protection Act, revised to make it less harmful and in some ways better, is in the Agricultural Committee in the Senate now. And it is on a fast track. It probably will pass this week. We need to make sure that it passes with this new line added. Direct trade between farmers and consumers will not be restricted.
Right.
And we can do that if we have phone calls continue. Mr. Hart did admit when we spoke on Friday that Jason Smith had had a lot of calls from constituents and that he had had a lot of calls from other representatives and senators who had had calls and visits in person from constituents. They are very, very aware of what we are doing.
Outstanding. My one of the comments I heard was that there were so many senators' offices that were calling Jason Smith's office, telling him that this language was unacceptable, and that was as a direct result of the Wake Up Wednesday calls.
I believe it was. You know, we had about 24 different grassroots organizations participating in this. Some of the groups were not able to participate as groups because of 501c status, but we had large numbers of their membership participating individually.
Right.
That includes the Missouri Organic Association, the Fuel for the Body Organic and Non-GMO group in Branson.
Right.
All of the property rights coalitions, the Campaign for Liberty, the Libertarian Party, the Constitution Party, a large group of Republicans, another group of Democrats, the CMO 10 in Cape Girardeau, a Tea Party group, the Voice of the Ozarks. We had a lot of groups helping on this. Rural Crisis in Columbia went directly to the Senate offices in Jeff City and called on them.
I think what's important for our audience to recognize is that this truly does show you what grassroots activism can do. And to all of those people out there who say my vote doesn't count and my phone call doesn't count and my email doesn't count, I'm here to tell you, folks, you're wrong. It does. There's only two things that politicians respond to. They respond to food/pleasure or pain/unemployment. And I'm here to tell you that by making you, in order to make a difference with these political animals, you must give them one of two things: food or pain. Food to them is being reestablished as an incumbent. Pain is not being reestablished as an incumbent. And our goal, as in all things, should be to make sure that these individuals understand the will of the people and that they are doing what we insist that they do. They belong to us. They are representing us. They are our employee. And I'm here to tell you that you've got to make sure that you're participating in these. And so this Wednesday, we're going to have another Wake Up Wednesday. And this one, Mike, I think we're going to do this one on the Second Amendment Preservation Act.
Yes, but we also still need to keep up the pressure on the Missouri
that's fine.
Monsanto.
So let's put together an agenda for Wake Up Wednesday for 2 days from now and make sure that we've got this issue of the Monsanto Protection, this Missouri Monsanto Protection Act, and also and also the Second Amendment Preservation Act, because I think both of these issues are truly critical to our ability to, one, put legislation in place that will do things positively for us in terms of the Second Amendment Preservation Act issue, and also to prohibit government from abusing us in terms of the other side. So let's make sure that we're participating in Wake Up Wednesday, folks. This is going to be a weekly thing that we're going to do. We're going to pick a piece of legislation, and we're going to go after it hard, hot, and heavy to make sure we either defeat it if it's bad or promote it if it's good.
Yes. Reward the politicians when they do good things. Punish them when
they do bad. Hold their feet not to the fire, but in the fire. Figuratively, of course.
And I would invite everyone out there who is able to make it to join us tonight at the Spring Dipper in Mammoth.
Yep.
We should have a very good meeting, and we will talk about Wake Up Wednesday.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Go ahead. Sorry. Okay. We're going to have to take a break in just a moment. When we come back, I would like to complete a review on this issue of our collectivist communist Melissa Harris Perry, because quite frankly, she is so dangerous to our republic that I'm not quite sure, unless you really truly understand all of the implications of this. And I want to break this thing down. I know that it's important that we do, and I'm going to ask you to just bear with me for 10 minutes while we tear this thing apart and understand exactly what she's saying so that we're reading between the lines fully. We'll be back in just a moment, and when we return, we'll tear this down, and then we'll take a couple of your calls. You're listening to America's Voice Now. You can find us at americasvoicenow.org. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com YouTube.com/America's Voice Now. And you can find this and every other show that we do up on YouTube at YouTube.com/America's Voice Now. We'll be right back.
The area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry.
Online at westplainspawn.com.
Top of the line new and used optics from Nikon, Leopold, Burris, Redfield, Zeiss, and Schmidt & Bender. Ask about their selection of binoculars, laser sights, and night vision goggles. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West US Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
Complete service and satisfaction is the Earl's Dodge Jeep difference from all the other dealers in the Ozarks. Hello, I'm Janet, and I invite you to come check out our new and pre-owned on the lot at Earl's Dodge Jeep on North Highway 63 across from the fairgrounds in West Plains, where we go out of our way to make you happy. That means doing what it takes to make sure you're satisfied with your total package on your new purchase, which means taking care of you after the sale. It all adds up at Earl's Dodge Jeep, where buying a vehicle is as simple as it should be.
It's a call and make your voice heard on the biggest issues making headlines today, or on absolutely anything in your head. Every call I get goes on the air totally unscreened. It's unpredictable and uncensored, and you'll never know what to expect. Anything can and will happen on the next Alan Combs Show.
And that's who you can catch every weeknight, 9 till midnight. The Alan Combs Show on the Ozarks Best News Talk, 107.1 The Point, Monday through Friday.
There is this product on Amazon that is simply going crazy. The banana slicer, almost 2,500 consumer reviews. I've been trying to come up with an ideal way to slice a banana. Use a knife, they say. Well, my parole officer won't let me around knives. Or how about this one? What can I say about the banana slicer that hasn't already been said about the wheel or penicillin? Obviously, just a pure hoax.
Saturdays noon to 3 and weekdays at 7:35 for your digital minute. It's Kim Commando on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
Okay, we're back. If you call us on the Wits End Classic Barbershop hotline, I like that. I like callers to call in and voice their opinion. My only concern and my only suggestion is please be patient. You're not the only person doing so. And I just dropped the call on that last caller, and I apologize, by the way. I hit the wrong button. You're always welcome to call into this show, but we ask that you be patient and not call and then hang up and call and hang up. Use your intelligence and recognize that you're not the only one doing so, and we'll be more than happy to take your calls. If I grab your call and I put it on hold, I do that for a reason, because I'm not ready to take your call yet, and that means you've got to just wait a second. If you can't do that, then find some other show to listen to. Okay? Okay. I want to tear this thing down by Melissa Perrier. I'm going to take this one call before we do that. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, turnabout's fair play, I guess.
Yes,
well,
sir.
Anyway, I wanted to give you a quote by Henry Kissinger.
Yeah, I just posted it up there, but go ahead, because it's really enlightening.
Anyway, yeah, you might have heard it. The illegal we do now, the unconstitutional is a little harder to get done.
Yep. Actually...
That was George Bush the first Secretary of State that said that, and that's the kind of government you're dealing with. Now, you talk about terroristic talk. I mean, when somebody says they do things illegal, that just like it's he was in a meeting with the founding fathers and said that. What do you figure his life expectancy would have been?
I don't suspect it would have been very long. In fact, quite honestly, I guess to answer that question, I don't think the life expectancy of a vast number of the people who are currently operating in our government would have been very long. Oh. They wouldn't have put up with that. They would have been charged with treason. And you've heard me say that many, many times on this show. Some people say to me, you use the word treason too often. With all due respect, I think you don't use it enough. And so, the simple truth is that If we were to look back at how our founders would have looked upon our current politicians, I suspect that a vast number of them would either be in jail or would have met a rope a long, long time ago. So I agree with you.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Thank you, sir. There was a quote that came out where that line just came from. WikiLeaks has dumped 1.7 million documents out on the public, which most of which was already unclassified, but some of which is not. And basically, what Kissinger said was, illegal, we do immediately. Unconstitutional takes a little longer. That was Kissinger, folks. Those of you who have been lauding Kissinger as one of the best statesmen of all time, that's his real actual thinking. All right, I want to wrap this thing up on this lean forward thing, because this Melissa Harris Perry is a collectivist. And you need to understand the importance of the collectivist mentality, because it's such a danger to you. We have never invested as much in public education as we should have. That was one of the first lines from her rant here. Well, I beg to differ with Ms. Perry, but the simple truth is that we spend more than any other nation per student in the world. And I have to tell you, the results that we get from that money because of people just like her is troubling. It's more than troubling. It's actually it's actually so pathetic that we have 80% of the kids who graduate high school in New York who can't read to go on to college. They have to go back and take remedial courses in reading, writing, and arithmetic in order to actually move on to a community college environment. So for all this money that we spend, and she wants us to invest more, I suggest that what we need to do is take the managers of that money and kick them all out and start over, starting with teachers' unions. I know I'm going to get a bunch of email from teachers who say, that's not fair. Well, I get it, but you got an axe to grind and I don't. And the simple truth is this. The teachers' unions have destroyed our public education system, along with a whole lot of elitists and statists in our government. So, whether you agree or disagree with me, I don't really care. That's my opinion. I think teachers' unions have done irreplaceable damage to our nation. Her comment goes on to say, we've always had a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. Well, that's because, Ms. Perry, our children are ours until they reach adulthood. They are ours to mold and shape in the way in which we see fit as their parents. They're the people who have brought them into the world. And quite frankly, you're not paying the freight to raise those children. And even if you were, you have absolutely no right to dictate the rules upon which they are raised, the morals that are taught to them, the basic precepts of liberty and freedom that are taught to them. She goes on to say, we haven't had a very collective notion of these as these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Wow. They are not the responsibility of everyone, Ms. Perry. They truly are independent living beings who have all of the rights and liberties that were granted to them by God and by nature. You know, just because you believe that there's a way to indoctrinate these children doesn't mean that the rest of us have to abide by it. Only good things can come through collective action. That's what she's trying to tell you. And the collectivist mentality is exactly what our founders warned us against over and over and over again, with words and in writing. We're forced to, and I'm going to tell you something else. The Department of Justice has just come out with a statement stating that parents don't have the right to homeschool their children. That goes hand in glove with trash like Perry. We're forced to pay taxes to have our children indoctrinated and brainwashed in a public school system that we don't agree with. And Perry believes that this entitlement mentality and this forced participation in the collective mentality is some excuse for the concepts of child rearing that have worked well in this nation for 250 years. Or 200 years, let's put it that way. Because for the last 100 or 50 or whatever you want to classify it, since public education began and took on the overall role following the mantra of the 10 planks of communism and Marxist ideology, that's when public education began to leave our children behind in favor of this gold-plated collectivist mentality, this utopian fantasy that they're fed and taught, which has no basis in reality. You know, it does take outside influence for children to be exposed to different concepts and ideas, and I get that. That's where the community comes in. But the minute that the community begins to make the decision on what your child is allowed to learn and how their malleable minds can be altered or twisted, well, that's where I draw the line. Are these the type of people, ladies and gentlemen, that you want to run our country? You know, this ad was entitled Lean Forward. This is another of these progressive MSNBC pushes that they do. This is their public service announcement format, right? So, my question is this. Do you believe that this is leaning forward? I don't. In fact, I say push back like you mean it. Because I think this type of thing is dangerous to our nation. And yet, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. We are at the edge of oblivion. You've heard me say that over and over and over again. Our government has been lost to us. The slaves have now enslaved the master. And that's a sad statement, but it's true. We are the masters. Government is supposed to be the slave of the people, to do their bidding and to do the things that we demand that they do. Yet we have this small, ideological, misfit, small minority that has, for whatever reason, been enabled to take control. And we're all going to see and have to pay the price for it. And we're all going to see those results. God help us, America. We're in for it. And it's coming. You're listening to America's Voice Now. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Please join us between 8 and 9 and at 8 to 9 at night. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. See you tomorrow morning, bright and early.
Ladies and gentlemen,
This is KBMV Birch Tree is the Ozarks best news talk 24 hours a day.